Hi, welcome everyone. Welcome to this little video on our personality and environmental awareness in everyday life practice. So I'd like to just go over the three homework nuggets and share a little bit about my personal experience that led to some of these practices, and yeah, just go from there. All right, so I'm looking at the homework week 5 PDF. It's up in the materials folder, so you can find it there. So nugget 1 is practicing personality and environmental awareness in everyday life. In your daily life, direct your inner trainer's awareness at the phenomena of your personality and at the surroundings that your personality encounters. Notice what you notice. List or journal about what you notice. What are you curious about? What stands out to you? I want to just interject that if you don't have enough time to actually keep a journal entry, it's just as great to just do the practice and make mental notes and notice what you notice. Okay, so here are some ideas about what you could track. Objects in your surroundings, anything that stands out in your experience, specific thoughts, categories or types of thoughts, for example, plans, worries, judgments, narratives, what ifs, memories, daydreams, etc. Needs, desire, opportunities, resources, your questions, nighttime dream figures, weird encounters, disturbances that upset your personality, and likes or dislikes. So in future weeks, we will track our experiences more explicitly. This week, just focus on making it a practice to use your awareness to track your personality and your environment throughout your day. That was nugget 1. Okay, so nugget 2 is the daily inner trainer recommitment and affirmation. It says, if you have chosen to practice growing your inner trainer awareness and intention, this nugget will help to get your inner trainer activated for longer stretches throughout your days. Intentionally growing your skill of awareness in daily life means that your inner trainer needs to remember to be observing. It is extremely normal and natural to get caught up in the events of the day and lose some or all of the qualities of the curious, watchful inner trainer. That is, it is extremely normal to forget to practice your inner trainer awareness. When you realize that you've forgotten to observe your experiences with curiosity and non-judgment, you can use your intention and choose to resummon your inner trainer, or you can take a break. For this nugget, write a recommitment statement to your daily practice. State what your practice is and affirm qualities of the inner trainer and or the personality that you are cultivating. Make the statement any length and say whatever is right for you. Then, recommit to your practice every morning by saying this recommitment statement. Or you could make a voice recording of this statement and loop it for about 15 minutes when you turn out the lights to go to sleep. Your brain waves pass through alpha and theta rhythms as you fall asleep, and your personality is more open to suggestions at these frequencies. What follows is a long example of a recommitment statement and affirmation. Yours needs to be right for you. As you read this statement or as you listen to this statement, use your body awareness to notice any feelings like shivers, goosebumps, expansion, or tearful connection that could indicate that some quality in what you are hearing may be right for you. Or don't listen to this and just go deep within and write a recommitment statement from what emerges inside you. If you'd like to hear the example, I'm going to start reading it now, and here it is. It goes, like the sky, I am spacious. Like the animals, I am observant, relying on my senses. Like the plants, I experience what is. Like water, I am flowing. Right now, I elevate my frequency to the frequency of love. I transcend all fears such that I manifest love in word, thought, and deed. I am limitless. I am that which is called to be Becca. With this affirmation, I am Word. Word, I am focused, loving, creative, service. I'm open to life. I'm honest with life. I trust my heart. I trust my choice and connections. I release the past. I learn and grow. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. I dream, cradled in the mystery, not knowing a thing, yet ironically, having and sharing my opinion, having my experience. Right now, I recommit myself to the process of observation without judgment. I trust that this is a safe way to navigate this plane. If thoughts become intrusive, I will slash them with my samurai sword to give my body a break. I will open back up to thoughts when I am ready. When I am in this space of observation without judgment, I trust that insights about my personality will emerge from this space. I trust that opportunities will emerge in this space. I trust that glimpses of possible directions for my life will emerge from this space. When insights, opportunities, and glimpses emerge, I do the work. I take action to learn and grow and to keep glimpses open. And I do the work to meet my basic needs today. With gratitude. Hayim Machigi ni. That's the end of that little recommitment statement, or shall I say that big recommitment statement. Yeah, hopefully you just noticed what your experience was as you listened to that, and maybe had some inspiration for some aspects that might be good for you to include in your recommitment statement. Yeah, with a practice like this, an awareness practice, the triplex training is kind of this, it's a basic life system. And so the two major kind of skills of a life unit that I'm really stressing that we focus on practicing is the skill of awareness and the skill of intention. So we're actually setting the intention, making the choice every day, or every time we come back and we make the choice, we are using our intention to do our awareness practice. We're growing both of these two important skills. And I want to say that, yeah, the point about creating an intentional practice is a little bit different than having some sort of an idea of creating a habit of something, because I am encouraging us to practice intention, and intention is something that we choose to do all the time. It's not something that happens automatically, that we don't really think about it, or at some point in our lives, maybe whatever it is we've practiced has become so integrated in our beings that it's very natural for us to make the choice to do our practice every day. But in the beginning, it's something that we probably are exercising our muscle of intention to do our practice every day. And once it's integrated, in a way, we're still always doing our practice. So we're at that point when it's integrated, our awareness skill is going to be noticing that we are practicing we're doing our awareness practice all the time, and that we it's like the intention thing will be happening. It won't necessarily be this thing that's a habitual practice, like something that we've just gone to sleep and we just do it automatically. No, it's just something that we are choosing to do. We're being present with our choices and with our actions. That's kind of the end game with triplex training. Okay, so and that particular exercise there, I'll say something here about the technique of slashing thoughts. I included that in my statement, and that was actually a really important part of me getting some traction with this practice. For many years, I'd had like a seated meditative practice. This is kind of how I started into kind of like self my self-discovery process or my self-inquiry started more with like looking at nutrition and meditation, and I chose the seated meditation practice of observing feeling sensations in the body was the practice that I chose. So at some point though, I was, well, let's see, I never really necessarily did my practice explicitly as a practice in daily life as I'm presenting it here in Triplex Training until I experienced this non-stop panic attack that I described in previous videos when I was living at the barn, and I was pretty much cash broke and didn't have a job, and winter was coming. I was living in a barn that I was not going to be able to stay at because the road to get to the barn was a dirt road that got so muddy that I just wasn't going to be able to even get to the barn in the winter time. So I didn't know what I was going to do. And so when I had this panic attack, at some point, I can't even tell you when or where the inspiration came from, but what I decided, or kind of what I noticed, was that my thoughts were like absolutely nonstop, and it was too much for my physical body or too much for my being to deal with. And, having learned more about the stress response and how those thoughts, our body is neurocepting and taking those thoughts as kind of input and cues as to whether or not we're in a safe situation or a dangerous situation. It's like, well, now kind of having that framework, it makes sense that I was not going to have a lot of success at getting my body out of that state of panic when I had a constant onslaught of distressing thoughts in my mental space. So I made this point, or I made this decision at some point. I was like, no, I'm not thinking anymore. I'm just stopping. I'm stopping thinking. And I ended up doing this sort of recommitment practice every day and throughout the day to keep my momentum with that practice. And I was totally relentless with it. I slashed everything. And it was actually really interesting and transformative experience for me, because what happened after many days of doing this, at some point, those thoughts actually subsided. And in the space that was there, my body started to calm down. It's like what I'm calling now this inner trainer phenomena was more present. And rather than having my radar screen completely full of thoughts, it was empty. And so when a thought, bing, popped onto my radar screen, I could see it. And I had my inner trainers, like cognitive faculties, my critical thinking skills were online. And I was actually able to examine the thought and question its validity, and to also be really curious. I had that curiosity of the inner trainer, and I was able to be really curious about, like, where did that thought come from? And then I also had my choice. I had my intention, my skill of intention, such that I didn't automatically or habitually just add another little thought to that little thought train. It's like this little thought that pops up on the radar screen is almost like the engine of a freight train. And there can be a tendency of the personality to just, without an intentional choice, to just automatically attach another car onto that thought train, and then another thought, and before you know it, you have a huge freight train, a huge narrative of something going, and your inner trainer is nowhere to be seen at that point. So in this experience of having cleared out the radar screen and with my inner trainer online, it was just a really powerful experience for me to really actually see and really realize where some of my kind of like lifelong patterns were contributing to my panic in that moment, in that current moment of time. And I had my choice whether or not I was going to believe whether those patterns were true or not. And so yeah, well, I won't share too much more about what I was learning at that time, but I will say the other thing that happened with that, my radar screen free of all those thoughts, I could notice so much stuff in my surroundings that I never noticed before. I was in like a new city, and a relatively new city to me, and I read street signs that I never saw before. I saw businesses that I'd never seen before, even though I'd lived there for 2-3 years at that point. It just really changed my experience to not have all that cloudy thought stuff going on. And so I noticed my surroundings. I noticed also I also just had this experience of creativity started popping up, and I could kind of see what I was doing as I was starting to come out of the panic attack. I could see what it was that I was doing that was helping me, and I was able to track it. And the things that I was doing and that I was tracking are the tools that eventually became what I call this triplex me toolbox. So that's kind of the story of the genesis of a lot of what is included in the triplex training. There's more. I've definitely picked up and learned more things since, and I learned things before too. But yeah, so that gives you some background. And a really important thing that I was noticing actually during that experience were my nighttime dream experiences and my really dreamy experiences during my waking life. In that time too, there was a lot of significant kind of imagery or interactions with people that happened that I was able to observe them with kind of with that just curious, more detached onlooker experience, or that more the inner trainer awareness. And when I did that, I found a lot of meaning personally in those experiences. So that kind of brings me to the last part of the homework, which is Nugget 3, dream drops. So this is a little homework assignment, and I'll just read it here. It says, when you have a dream or remember a dream, track it. Make a simple list of the elements that stand out most in the dream, like people, animals, scenery, actions, and feelings that are notable. In later weeks, we will explore dreams more closely by looking for clusters or themes in our dreams. Plus, this practice may help you to remember more dreams and may get you more curious about your amazing personality. Yeah, dreams are very interesting, and from my studies and my practices, they are, they're just like a really fascinating territory to explore and to question about, and to just learn about yourself and wonder where they came from. What are dreams? What are the symbols in your dreams? What do they have for you? What do they mean for you? So for the homework, it's not necessary, for you to really get down and write all the details down in your dreams unless you want to. You're, of course, do whatever you want to. But if you just notice them for now, one thing that I'll say is that it seems like when people get into some sort of an emotional, when they start doing some sort of emotional work, dream symbols will come up in nighttime dreams, or even just like dreamy daytime experiences that do seem to have significance for people as they look at them and are trying to kind of track their patterns in life and work on their problems, or work on what it is they'd like to have better in their life. So yeah, okay, so that's the homework, and I hope that everyone is doing really well, and I'm really curious to just share about what it is that is happening with your practices, and we can just see where it all goes. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night. Take care. Bye.